From the very first moment, it often feels like magic. The way they speak to you, the way they listen with seeming intensity, the attention that feels like it's just for you alone. It's intoxicating. You might even think you found someone rare, someone who truly understands you, who sees all your shadows and lights without judgment. But slowly, that magic begins to fade. Small doubts creep in. You wonder why their love feels so conditional, why their compliments are often followed by subtle digs. You find yourself walking on eggshells, trying not to upset the delicate balance. You feel tired, confused, even a little lost. If this sounds familiar, then you may have encountered a narcissist, not just a boastful or arrogant person, but someone whose entire sense of self depends on controlling others, feeding off their admiration, and hiding an inner emptiness behind a mask of perfection. Narcissism is one of the most misunderstood and dangerous psychological patterns because it's not always obvious. Narcissists don't come at you like villains in a story. Instead, they seduce, they charm, they slowly entrap. In this video, we will explore how narcissists operate, how they lure you in, how they break you down, and why it's so difficult to escape their grasp. But more importantly, you'll learn how to recognize the signs early, protect your own mental and emotional well-being, and begin to reclaim your life from manipulation. The myth of Narcissus is the starting point for understanding narcissism in all its forms. According to ancient Greek legend, Narcissus was a young man whose beauty was so extraordinary that everyone around him was captivated. Yet, he was cold and indifferent to others' feelings, obsessed instead with his own reflection in a pool of water. Unable to tear himself away, he wasted away, trapped in a fatal cycle of self-adoration. This story captures the paradox at the heart of narcissism, a desperate fixation on self, not out of true self-love, but out of a profound emptiness and fragility. The narcissist is trapped in a constant search for validation because deep down, they don't believe they are enough. Modern psychology builds on this ancient tale, explaining narcissism as a defense mechanism. The narcissist's grandiosity, charm, and seeming confidence are all shields to protect a vulnerable self-image. This is why they must constantly seek admiration, and why any criticism feels like a deadly attack. In relationships, this plays out in predictable yet devastating ways. The beginning feels like a fairy tale. The narcissist showers you with attention, compliments, and promises. This phase, often called love bombing, is designed to lower your defenses and create intense emotional dependency. You might feel like you've finally met your soulmate. But this idealization is not about truly knowing you. It's about creating an illusion that serves the narcissist's need for control. Once the mask slips, the cycle of devaluation begins. Small criticisms become frequent. You are made to feel as if you are never quite enough. Your feelings are dismissed or twisted. You start to doubt your own reality, a phenomenon known as gaslighting. You try harder to please, but the bar keeps moving. Eventually, the narcissist discards you, either abruptly or through slow withdrawal, leaving you broken and confused, often blaming yourself. This cycle repeats because narcissists are driven by a deep fear of being exposed as imperfect. They cannot tolerate vulnerability or genuine intimacy. Instead, they rely on others to prop up their fragile ego. Breaking free from this cycle requires recognizing these patterns and understanding that the problem was never with you. True healing starts by reclaiming your sense of self, setting firm boundaries, and seeking support from those who understand the complexity of narcissistic abuse. If you felt trapped in such a relationship, know that you are not alone, and it is possible to rebuild your life with clarity and strength. Narcissistic manipulation isn't random or accidental. It's a carefully calibrated strategy designed to bend reality to their will. Understanding this process is critical to seeing through the illusion and protecting yourself. The first tool is love bombing, the dazzling flood of affection, attention, and admiration. In these early stages, the narcissist mirrors your deepest desires and values, seeming to reflect the best version of yourself back to you. They say all the right things at the right time, making you feel seen and cherished like never before. But this is not love as you know it. It's a calculated form of entrapment. By creating intense emotional highs, they lower your ability to critically assess their behavior. You begin to crave their approval and presence to feel good about yourself, making separation agonizing. Next comes idealization. They put you on a pedestal. You are the perfect partner, the only person who can truly get them. This stage is intoxicating, but it's also a way to hook you emotionally and psychologically. You begin to define yourself through their approval, your sense of worth tethered to their fluctuating moods. Then, slowly and insidiously, the devaluation phase creeps in. This is where the cracks begin to show, but you're often too invested or confused to step away. Compliments become rare, criticism increases. They might say things that feel like jokes but sting deeply. You're left questioning whether you're being overly sensitive or paranoid. Alongside devaluation, you experience gaslighting, a psychological technique to make you doubt your memory, perception, and sanity. You remember events one way, and they insist it never happened or happened differently. Over time, this erodes your confidence in your own mind and feelings, making you more dependent on their version of reality. If you resist, you might face silent treatment or withdrawal, a cold punishment that's devastating in its emotional cruelty. It's a way to control you by withholding affection and attention, leaving you desperate to regain their favor. Finally, many narcissistic relationships end in discard. This can be abrupt. They leave without explanation, often to pursue a new source of admiration. Or it can be slow and painful, as they withdraw emotionally while keeping you tethered just enough to prolong control. Each stage feeds the narcissist's fragile ego while destroying your sense of self. You might wonder why, if the abuse is so clear, so harmful, so painful, you find yourself stuck. The truth is, leaving a narcissist is one of the most complex emotional challenges anyone can face. There are many reasons why the cycle repeats and why you might feel trapped. Emotional dependency. The intense love bombing and idealization create a powerful emotional bond, akin to addiction. You become wired to seek their approval and presence to feel good about yourself, making separation agonizing. Fear of loneliness. Narcissists often isolate their victims from friends and family, either directly or by sowing doubt about others' intentions. This isolation deepens your reliance on the narcissist and the fear that you have no one else. Confusion and self-doubt. Gaslighting makes you question your own judgment, making it hard to trust your feelings or decisions. You might blame yourself for the problems, thinking if only you were different, things would be better. Hope for change. Narcissists often promise to change or show brief moments of kindness that reignite hope. You cling to the belief that things can go back to how they were in the beginning, making it hard to break free. Trauma bonding. The push-pull dynamic of affection and cruelty creates a strong psychological bond. Like an emotional roller coaster, the highs and lows keep you hooked, hoping for the next high to outweigh the pain. Prevention is the best defense. Learning to spot narcissistic traits early can save you from deep hurt and loss of self. If this is all making sense to you, hit the subscribe button and join the paradox theory. Thank you. Here are some red flags to watch for. Excessive charm and flattery too soon. If someone overwhelms you with compliments and intense attention right away, be cautious. Genuine relationships grow gradually. Lack of empathy. Notice if they dismiss or minimize others' feelings, especially yours. Need for control. Pay attention to whether they try to dictate how you should feel, think, or act. Inconsistencies in their stories or behavior. Narcissists often lie or twist facts to serve themselves, quick to blame others. Watch for a pattern of refusing accountability and blaming external factors for their mistakes. Excessive focus on appearance or status. Narcissists often care deeply about image and validation from others. If you recognize these signs, trust your instincts. Set boundaries early. Protect your emotional space. Don't allow someone to monopolize your sense of self. Healing from narcissistic abuse is a gradual process that requires patience and compassion for yourself. The first step is recognizing what happened was abuse. It's not your fault, and it doesn't define your worth. Find people who understand narcissistic abuse: therapists, support groups, trusted friends. Isolation only deepens wounds. Learn about narcissism and its dynamics. Knowledge empowers you to see clearly and make wise choices. Whether you continue contact or not, establish clear limits to protect your mental and emotional health. Rebuild your self-esteem by spending time on activities that bring you joy and remind you of your value beyond any relationship, your mental and emotional health. Be gentle with yourself. Healing isn't linear. There will be setbacks and progress. Therapists trained in trauma and abuse recovery can provide tools and guidance tailored to your experience. Recovery is more than just surviving. It's about thriving. It means reclaiming your power and choosing relationships built on respect, honesty, and genuine connection. It means learning to trust yourself again, listening to your intuition, and honoring your needs without guilt. It means understanding that your worth is inherent, not contingent on another's approval or manipulation. Above all, it means embracing freedom, freedom from control, confusion, and fear. Narcissistic abuse leaves deep scars, but it doesn't have to define your story. The light of healing, clarity, and strength is always within reach. The aftermath of narcissistic abuse often feels like wandering through a dense fog. Your mind is clouded with conflicting emotions, sorrow, anger, confusion, and sometimes shame. You may find yourself replaying moments, trying to understand where things went wrong, searching for answers that may never come. This is normal. Healing begins when you acknowledge these feelings without judgment and commit to moving forward on your own terms. One of the most damaging effects of narcissistic relationships is the erosion of your self-trust. When someone constantly invalidates your feelings and distorts your reality, it's natural to question your own perceptions. Regaining trust in yourself is essential to healing. Start by practicing mindfulness, paying close attention to your emotions and bodily sensations without trying to suppress or change them. This practice helps reconnect you to your authentic experience and builds confidence in your own inner voice. Another important aspect of recovery is understanding boundaries. Narcissists often violate or ignore boundaries to maintain control. After abuse, it's crucial to learn how to set and enforce healthy limits in all relationships. Boundaries are not walls. They are guidelines that protect your well-being and create respect. They may include saying no to unreasonable demands, limiting contact with toxic people, or simply asking for space when needed. Self-compassion is a vital part of this process. You may have internalized blame or feel guilty for staying in the relationship longer than you wished. Remind yourself that narcissistic abuse is a complex, subtle form of manipulation designed to trap even the strongest people. Forgive yourself for any perceived mistakes and focus on the courage it takes to recognize the abuse and seek healing. Many survivors find therapy to be a lifeline. Trauma-informed therapists who understand narcissistic abuse can help you unpack your experiences, identify unhealthy patterns, and develop coping strategies. Therapy provides a safe space to express emotions and rebuild your identity outside the influence of the narcissist. It's also important to nurture your social support network. Reconnect with friends or family members who are trustworthy and validating. If isolation has been a factor, consider joining support groups where you can share your story and hear others who've faced similar struggles. These connections can remind you that you are not alone and that recovery is possible. Healing involves reclaiming your narrative. Narcissistic abuse distorts your sense of who you are. Writing about your experiences, journaling your thoughts and feelings, or even creating art can be powerful tools to process trauma and rebuild your self-image. Through these practices, you can rediscover your voice and affirm your worth on your own terms. In time, survivors often find themselves asking difficult questions. How do I trust again? How do I build healthy relationships? What does love look like after abuse? Trust is rebuilt slowly and intentionally. Start with yourself by honoring your needs and feelings. When entering new relationships, move at a pace that feels safe and authentic for you. Healthy partners respect boundaries, communicate openly, and show consistent empathy. Look for mutual respect and kindness, not just charm or intensity. Learning about narcissism also helps in setting expectations and protecting yourself from future harm. Awareness of manipulation tactics, red flags, and your own triggers strengthens your ability to respond wisely rather than react emotionally. Love after narcissistic abuse can feel daunting but is entirely possible. It may look different from before, less about grand gestures and more about quiet support, shared values, and emotional safety. Your experience has deepened your insight and resilience, equipping you to choose connections that nurture rather than diminish you. The journey from entrapment to freedom is challenging but transformative. Many survivors describe feeling like they have reclaimed themselves after years of losing identity in another's control. They learn to celebrate their strengths, honor their boundaries, and cultivate a life rooted in authenticity. Understanding narcissism also encourages compassion for others who may be caught in its web, including the narcissists themselves, who often suffer from profound inner wounds. This awareness doesn't excuse abuse, but helps foster a broader perspective on human frailty and the complexity of psychological pain. Ultimately, healing is a radical act of self-love and courage. It is reclaiming your power, your voice, and your life. If you or someone you know is navigating the difficult path of narcissistic abuse, remember that help is available. Support groups, therapists, and educational resources can provide guidance and connection. The road may be long, but each step forward is a testament to your strength and resilience. You deserve relationships that honor your dignity and nourish your soul. The myth of Narcissus warns us of the dangers of self-obsession and disconnection from others. But your story can be one of profound healing, learning to love yourself not in isolation, but in balance, grounded in reality and genuine connection. In breaking free, you reclaim not just your life, but the possibility of true love, a love that sees, accepts, and cherishes you fully. But this kind of love does not come quickly, not after the wreckage, not after the storm. It is earned, built slowly, piece by piece, in the quiet hours of self-reflection and the long nights of painful honesty. It is a love that begins within, not the inflated ego love of narcissism, but the deeper, anchored love of self-respect, of saying, "I deserve peace," and refusing to entertain anything that steals it. To heal from narcissistic abuse is to become your own sanctuary. You begin to feel your instincts return, those subtle warnings you once silenced in order to stay, to keep the peace, to avoid abandonment. You begin to recognize your inner compass again, the one that was buried beneath manipulation and gaslighting, and you learn that your sensitivity is not a weakness. It is a signal. It is how your soul whispers, "This doesn't feel right," before your mind can even explain why. You remember how to trust yourself. There's something sacred in that remembering. Because for so long your sense of self was eroded. worn down like a shoreline beaten by waves of contempt, sarcasm, dismissiveness. You forgot what it felt like to stand in your own skin without apology. But now you're rising. And yes, the scars remain. There are days when the past feels near, when old voices echo in your head. But you begin to see them not as truths, but as echoes of the distortion you survived. You stop arguing with those voices and start walking past them. Each time you choose not to chase validation, each time you set a boundary, even if your voice shakes, each time you rest instead of people please, you reclaim a piece of your power, the power that narcissistic abuse tried to erase. The truth is, this healing is not just about the past. It's about your future. It's about creating a life that feels like yours. And so must we. Before you go, I want to hear from you. Share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to read your experiences and reflections. And if this message resonated with you, make sure to subscribe. It's important, much more than you imagine. And trust me, the journey we're on together is just getting started. The next videos are going to go even deeper, so stick around. You won't want to miss what's coming next. See you soon.